Sangay National Park covers the provinces of Cañar, Chimborazo, Morona Santiago, and Tungurahua. Most of its territory is in the province of Morona Santiago. Exactly 80% of the park's territory belongs to the province of Morona Santiago. The park is home to 3 volcanoes, Sangay, which is the highest and more active, Altar volcano, and Tungurahua volcano. Sangay and Tungurahua are active volcanoes, while Altar is not an active volcano. Sangay is one of the highest active volcanoes in Ecuador and around the world. Sangay is remote and inaccessible. Sangay constitutes an elevation of great geological interest due to its permanent volcanic activity, with the presence of volcanic fume eruptions and lava flows. At night, it offers natural displays similar to fireworks, which can be observed from El Puyo, a city in Ecuador. Sangay is one of the most active volcanoes in the world. Its last eruption was recorded in 1628. Tungurahua, on the other hand, has erupted violently since August 1999 and has not stopped producing strong explosions and lava flows. The Altar is the only one which the well-known name is still in Spanish language, but has an indigenous name as well, known as Capac Urco, which means the sublime mountain. The Sangay National Park, there is a number of more than 324 lakes. Within the national park, there is a great biodiversity, thanks to the fact that in it we can find a great variety of 5 ecosystems. The variety in its ecosystem gives it a great attraction for its visitors, since this means a great variety of landscapes. Thanks to its extensive territory, the Sangay National Park is attractive but difficult to visit, therefore very difficult to control. Just to mention one example of this situation, to reach the base of the Sangay volcano, a 3-day hike is needed. This causes the 16 park rangers to have an impossible job inside there, since they must control 400,000 hectares and guard 240 kilometers of borders. The borders are especially important because that there is where invasions occur, one of the greatest threats to the national park, but we will talk later about that in this video. It has more than 3,000 plant species, which are distributed over a wide altitudinal range that goes from 1,000 to 4,000 meters above sea level, covering about half of the plant formations in the country. The different species of plants that exist within the park can be differentiated depending on the ecosystem in which they are found. Around the lakes, an ecosystem called wet paramo is formed. Here you can find aquatic ferns and plants, green pillows, and moss. Moss can be also found in ecosystems such as the so-called mountain cloud forest. But in the mountain cloud forest ecosystem, unlike the others, it houses alders, cedars, rosemaries, and orchis epiphytes. The existence of epiphytes means the presence of a certain biodiversity. The hydrological function of epiphytes is the capture of water directly from the mist and provision of a variety of microhabitats for fungi, invertebrates, and amphibians. Plants such as guareas and woody ferns can be found in other ecosystems called transition zone. The transition zone is located between the mountain cloud forest and the subtropical forests. In the subtropical rainforest area, you can find plants like cedars, guavas, apple trees, and lengua de vaca. The mammals inside the park can be found depending on how many meters above sea level you are. At a high altitude, which means 5,319 meters above sea level, you can find Andean bears, mountain tapirs, pumas, rabbits, paramo wolves, and deers. At a lower altitude, which means around 900 meters above sea level, you can find jaguars, ocelots, spider monkeys, and giant armadillos. Birds can be found more than 200 different types of birds. The different species of birds are distributed in the different ecosystems. In the paramo, we can find ducks, an animal called the gray maca. In the mountain cloud forest can be found tangaras and trepacocos. At the subtropical rainforest, there are macaws, parakeets, and parrots. In addition, there are approximately 30 species of amphibians and about 15 reptiles of different varieties, among which are found tree frogs, glass frogs, salamanders, lizards, dragon lizards, and viper snakes.
The most important natural resources found in the park are the lakes, Upano and Paute, and also the snowy mountains and volcanoes. The snow serves an important part in the hydrological process that gives and shapes the many ecosystems found within the park. The rivers serve as a source of renewable energy and generators of electricity. This means water power. The watershed for Paute is the Pastaza River. Paute River has been dammed to generate the country's most significant hydroelectric supply. Finally, another resource worth mentioning are hot springs, which are located in volcanic areas and are closely related to volcanic activities. For example, Baños uses Tungurahua as a resource to generate sulfate hot springs. They use the heat energy accumulated that surrounds the groundwater and they make it pour out as hot springs.
Threats and conservation. In particular, Sangay National Park faces countless problems and threats. Among others, are the conflicts of ownership of the land. The site is divided between a large number of different private landowners. Approximately 60% have title for the properties, 30% have possession rights, and the rest are recent colonizers. Another threat is misuse of resources by the communities of the interior and buffer zone. Poaching, deforestation. Deforestation can have a great impact on the park because, as we saw in the case of the epiphytes, other species depend on them. The construction of the road brought many negative effects to the park and its biodiversity. Because to build a road, you have to deforest, you have to pollute, and the roads make it easier for humans to disrupt an ecosystem and thus negatively affect it long term. Like other parks in Ecuador, they have suffered in recent years from the threat of mining activity, which has accelerated in recent years in Ecuador. One of the important threats of the park is inside the park. The eruption of Sangay and Tungurahua threatened to the wildlife, native people, and cities around. Hunting is also a threat that, due to the park size, it is very difficult to control. It is important that there is no hunting because that affects the ecosystem, and if there is less of one animal species, then it affects badly the entire ecosystem. Littering is a big threat as well. Future outlook. The park's last official management plan is from 1998, but clearly the needs of that time are not the same as now, so there is much to update. Aves y Conservación, in collaboration with other organizations, has developed a strategy for the site, which includes the following activities: to work with the local authorities to declare new municipal protected areas, to expand the private reserve network in the corridor, to build on the results of the study currently being undertaken to identify key ecosystem services that could contribute to the conservation of the remaining forests, to develop ecotourism initiatives involving local landowners and communities, to help improve agricultural yields and reduce the environmental impact of production, to promote the introduction of alternative agriculture systems. Example, organic coffee, to strengthen the capacity of local conservation groups on issues such as biodiversity monitoring, ecotourism, and working with the local authorities and communities to improve the protection of the corridor. To work with the private sector to improve environmental safeguards, to increase local and national awareness about the importance of the ecological corridor, and to undertake future research on the site's biodiversity.